Were you at all surprised how Andre Russell played that final over, or is that sort of what you expected him to do to keep the strike to himself throughout?
Yeah, in hindsight, I'm not too sure, but like he's the best power hitter probably in the world. So you know, if you miss to him, he hits it for 6. But you know, it was battle of the heavyweights they've been saying, and Starkey executed it so well. Obviously, he's bowled death to him in the past, and even in this series, he bowled death to him, and was yeah, he was disappointed probably how he bowled that first game, but to come back and win the game for us like he did last night. Yeah, he was so calm and knew what he was going to do and how he was going to do it. And Dre Russ backed him to miss a couple of times, and Starkey just didn't miss at all. So it was a good battle.
Just last one from me. What did you learn personally from the first 3 games that you were able to implement so successfully last night?
No, nothing changed for me last night. It was just situational. I feel like the ball's been coming out well, particularly the third game. I had a really good battle with Chris. You know, he's the greatest T20 player of all time. So I really enjoy those battles. And up until 2.2 overs in that game, I probably had it over him. And then he took me down in the last 4 balls of my spell. So the numbers probably didn't reflect how the ball's coming out. And I didn't really change anything until last night. It was just all situational. You know, bowling to 2 right-handers with a really high score with batters under pressure. So that's probably all that changed, really.
Thanks, Adam. Cheers.
Adam, do you think that spins had such a big impact on this series because spin is such a prominent part of 2020 cricket, or are the conditions really conducive to helping the spinners?
It's a combination. Look, you look at the game plans of both teams and how much they differ. Like, obviously, you know, the spin bowlers to the Australian team have the ability to bowl a little bit slower compared to our game plans against the West Indies, is to not give them much air so they can get under it, because obviously, as I've already mentioned, like they hit the ball so far and they're power hitters. So the game plans definitely change. The wickets have taken a little bit spin probably every second game once they've gotten a little bit used, but they've been pretty good wickets generally. So it differs from each team, I think. But you know, Hayden Walsh has bowled really well, and he's you know, taken 11 wickets in 4 games, and we probably haven't played him as well as we'd have liked. So if we had at our time again, we'd probably have better game plans to him, or execute you know, hitting his bad balls a little bit better, or whatever it is that might have made a big difference in the series. So it's something that we've spoken about.
And just on yourself, you're sort of one of the leading T20 spinners in the world. You're ranked well inside the top 10 in terms of spinners with a white ball. And yet you moved to New South Wales, I think, at least partly to get more opportunities with a red ball. How do you see your career? Do you see your career going down the white ball path, or do you still harbour ambitions of playing all 3 forms? Yes,
definitely do. I definitely still do harbour ambitions. Like I'll play any cricket that's available, and it's just worked out that you know, in the recent few years, that white balls has probably been the highlight of that. Like, we've had so many white ball tours where I just haven't had the opportunity to play red ball. Every time I've been available, I've tried to play. So I think just the move to New South Wales was obviously a great opportunity to play in a really good team, move back home. And yeah, the conversations that I'll be having with selectors once test tours, particularly to the subcontinent, start up again, is that you know, I'm bowling well, and I'm keen to be on those tours. And so I don't think playing Shield cricket necessarily is the be all and end all to getting in the test squad. I think if I'm bowling well at the time of those tours get selected, then hopefully I'll be on them. Yeah,
I was going to ask you about that. You don't have a great first-class record, but you've got an excellent white ball record. You think that that white ball record could go a fair way to sort of helping everyone make the jump?
Yeah, like, it's disappointing that I haven't had a lot of opportunities in recent years to play first-class career, because at the end of the day, people do look at your career stats, but it probably doesn't really reflect the bowler you are at the moment. Like, you know, I played a lot of my first class cricket when I was 21, 22, 23, which is 6 years ago now. And I probably, you know, inexperienced, you know, I did have the odd good game, but wasn't consistent enough. Whereas if I think I played first class cricket now, I know my game well enough and confident enough to perform at that level. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration when you're talking about that.
Thanks, Mel. We'll go to Mel Farrell.
Hey, Adam. Just wondering, when you were talking there about, you know, the game plans that you've had and probably would have done them differently, can you give us a sense of how this tour is comparing to other white ball tours when you've got new players, you've got a T20 World Cup coming up, and you've got a series? Is it sort of been a case where there are so many factors that it's almost been hard to just concentrate on the game plan?
It's a good question. Like, I think the game has changed so much in the last 18 months, in particular, just with coronavirus, and like, yeah, it's a difficult question. Like, I think it's a great opportunity for obviously those 7 guys that didn't come onto. It's a great opportunity for these guys now to come in and take their opportunity. The game plans we probably didn't speak about them enough, about playing the leg spinner and dominating that part of the game. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've answered that very well, to be honest with you. Sorry, Mel.
No, that's okay. I guess too, just the idea, you know, not playing the leg spinner so well. How well do you think you guys were prepared for this tour? Things like the crosswind taking things taking you a bit by surprise. All of those factors. How prepared do you think you all were for this tour?
It's something that we speak about. Like, we always talk about making sure that we're ready for whether it be an Obed McCoy or a Hayden Walsh, some of these guys that we haven't seen, because nations like the West Indies, they take their T20 cricket so seriously. And as you've seen, like, you would expect with a couple of youngsters that haven't played much international cricket before that they're going to show their inexperience, but they really haven't. So it is important. Like, from my personal point of view, I try to make sure I watch enough footage that I don't miss out on anything from any batsman, whether it be a first game or someone who's played 100 games. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, you know, we have guys who have played a lot of Big Bash and have done really well in Big Bash, but I think the difference between playing BBL and international cricket is that little bit of extra pressure. Like, I think, you know, there's been a lot said about the middle order and who's going to be there at the World Cup. So that added extra pressure, plus, you know, just everyone being so eager to do well after not playing a lot of cricket is a major factor as well. So you've seen, like, steady improvement, and I think you'll definitely see improvement tomorrow, particularly in terms of playing spin. And then those ODIs that are coming up are really important. You know, if we play well tomorrow, end this series 3-2, and then going to a 1-day series, which we're pretty confident about. So yeah, you'll see steady improvement. We haven't played a lot of cricket, so yeah, you'll see a lot of improvement.
Great, thanks, Adam.
Just got one here from Jim Callanan from Sky. In the first 3 games when the Windies were firing with the bat, how hard was it, or was it hard to keep your confidence levels up?
Yeah, we've like, from a bowling perspective, we've spoken about the plans, then obviously coming up with ways how we're going to get them out, and also ways to get them off strike and be a bit more defensive. Like, as I've mentioned, these West Indies guys, they hit the ball so far. So once they've faced a couple of balls, you know they're going to try and hit you out of the park and do it consistently. So it takes a lot of confidence to make sure you keep coming back after that. And, you know, as I said, yeah, bowling to Chris was such a great battle, and I took a lot of confidence from just, like, getting on top of him for 14 balls. I know that he got me in the last 4, but it does take a lot of confidence to come back next game and then come with that same attacking attitude and then backing your plans defensively as well. So it is really difficult. Like Dre Russ, you know, they haven't played Pollard, and you've got guys like Chris, and then some guys like Fabian Allen, who you saw last night, hit the ball out of the park too. So it is pretty daunting, but that's what makes playing against the West Indies so much fun as well. Like it's satisfying when you do well against them, but it can be daunting when they're coming at you. It's a good challenge.
And just a quick follow-up from that, the same with Riley with that second last over last night. How do you guys get behind and rally behind him after that? What do you say to someone like young bowler?
Yeah, I think the point is that he's really young, and they've got experienced guys who have played 500 T20 games or more, where we've got guys who have played 30 or less. So I guess from Riley's perspective, that over didn't go ideally for him, but the wicket that he got, it actually changed the game, because if Fabian Allen was still in that last over, it meant that Dre Russ could then take the singles, and they had two guys that could hit it out of the park. So it was a really big wicket, and I think that's probably learning curve as well, is that like your first 5 balls can go the distance, but your 6th one can change the game as well.
Thanks there. We'll throw over to Louis Live, as I like to call him, here in St Lucia.
Just picking up on that about Riley, and not casting any shade on him, but you're probably nice, experienced bowler. You can finish out of that team. Would you like to be left a bit later and maybe bowl that over that Riley had?
I think the way that it panned out was that, I wasn't meant to bowl a power play yesterday, and because they were going hard, I said to Finchy that I wanted to bowl one in the power play, hence why I probably didn't have one left so late. So I think we're all willing to bowl any time during the game. Like obviously, Starkey did so well at the death yesterday. He's huge with the new ball as well. And then I think Dorf yesterday was really good too. Like he's been challenged to get some tricks with his white ball cricket, and he's done that. Like, typically with Dorf, he's a great swing bowler who hits the top of off and builds pressure that way. But I think, death's something he's had to work on. His change-ups yesterday have been a massive improvement. So that was really good to see. But yeah, to answer your question, I do like bowling late. I like the pressure of that as well. But yeah, the way it panned out yesterday, I think after bowling a power play, it just didn't work out that way.
You mentioned it a couple of times before as well about bowling Chris Gayle with that third game. Can you just kind of explain what you're out there? What you're trying to take out?
Yeah, probably like a couple of backhanded compliments. Like I always try and assess my game where did I execute? Did I make the right decisions? Was I planned well enough? So, the first 2 overs to him, he hit my first ball of my second over for 6, and I felt like I was under pressure and got out of that over really well. And then the backhanded compliment is him moving around the crease a little bit in the 3rd over to put me off, which is, someone like Chris, if he feels like he can get you with just standing still, he will. So, I felt like it was a really good battle. If we weren't under the pump in that game and they needed 6.5 and over in that situation, I probably wouldn't have bowled that 3rd over in a row. But those are the things that happen when you need to try and buy wickets or get back in the game, and when you're in a position that isn't ideal.
On Mitch Marsh, mate. I think since the just about what's clicked for him.
I think 3 is a really good position for him, and he's the kind of guy who, like, he's had to deal with a lot of pressure that's probably unwarranted. I think the Australian fans, media might put a little bit too much pressure on all rounders. Even someone like Shane Watson, who's probably our greatest ever all rounder, felt the pressure his whole career. So someone like Bison, don't know if he's taken it to heart, but the way he trains, he smacks the ball, and I think he gets into the habits of feeling that pressure early in his innings in the game. But this series, he's just gone for it. And like before the series started, he asked me how I thought he could get better at playing spin. And usually with Bison, he's that one guy against spin where early in his innings you seem to worry about, but he's the guy that I'm watching at the moment facing spin, feeling really comfortable about. So he worked on that before the series, and it's paying dividends for him. So,
and you mentioned going up to number 3, there seems like a bit of an inevitability that he'll go down to order with the other guys come back, Warren Smith and Maxwell, I suppose. I mean, A, do you agree that it's inevitable, and B, is he could be a bit of a confidence
Yeah, I'm not sure really. Like I don't feel like that's inevitable. I think it's great to have options. We've got a lot of guys who bat high up in the order in BBL and haven't quite made the opportunity lower down the order. So we are after that power hitter, but we've got guys like Maxwell who have made that role his own. But I'm not sure. I don't think it's inevitable, but you do make a good point. Like there's a lot of really good players to come back in that position, but don't know. I think Bison's putting his hand up, so that's all he can do really.